In the hills around Merritt, First Nation loggers are generating economic benefits for their own communities and for the greater community as a whole. 9 First Nation logging contractors are working out here, employing some 80 loggers on behalf of market logging company Stuwix Resources, a joint venture of 8 First Nation bands. Stuwix employs more than 30 contractors and consultants and contributes up to 200 forestry-related jobs around Merritt. Despite tough times in the industry, Stuwix is doing well.
We're working together, we're making money, and we're hiring First Nations people.
And these are not just frontline labor jobs.
One, we're working on the labor side, but number 2, we're also developing the capacity on the management side, the technical side, the stewardship side, the sciences, and the business.
Very competent logging, harvesting contractors, road maintenance contractors, forest managers, log traders, silvicultural specialists. All aspects of forest management now are managed by people within the Stuwix Resources.
Stuwix is a big driver for the whole community.
Stuwix Resources injects a huge amount of money into the Merritt economy, not just because they're paying Aboriginal contractors, but those contractors are then buying their gas, buying their power cells, buying their oil, paying their rent, paying their truck payments.
For the 8 First Nation partners, acting as one is a big benefit.
Well, that's the biggest benefit. That's why we are where we're at today, is that 13 years ago, 8 bands got together and said, we're going to work as one.
Another key decision was to ensure that each partner, big or small, receives equal benefits so they can pursue their own economic opportunities, not necessarily around forestry.
It has allowed us to put resources towards inland communal commercial fisheries. The very first of its kind ever been done in BC is now being done by the Siska Indian Band, looking at how we can revitalize and save the salmon stocks through small bite inland communal commercial fisheries.
Developing capacity is not only jobs, but it's also to develop the social well-being, the health of the community. And that has been the vision of Stuwix, is to build a healthy community.
Stuwix has embedded traditional First Nation values into their stewardship of the forest.
What certainly Upper Nicola has been looking at is the implementation of Shackan principles.
Most certainly, Stuwix Resources goes above and beyond the current Forestry Act and code on how they look at the land base prior to harvesting and how they develop their forest development plans when they go into harvest areas, looking more deeply at traditional uses of the areas, looking at more closely at the habitat itself and the protection of species like moose and deer.
An example of Shackan would be to look at doubling the buffer zones around riparian areas, around water.
And I think that's a big part of what's made Stuwix as successful as it is, because as a First Nations people, we still firmly believe that everything is connected. And when you start taking spokes out of the wheel don't work.
Stuwix is working. During the last couple of dismal years in the industry, they haven't shut down once.
I think we've shown how government, industry, and First Nations can work together to create a very viable, vibrant economy.
We've seen our businesses growing. They're growing consistently, and the product is growing. The machines are newer. The staff and the crews are more and more seasoned so that we can do an effective job.